Welcome to the Daily Decant, your 5-minute briefing on the world of wine. Each episode delivers practical insights to help you choose, order, and talk about wine with more confidence in everyday social settings. Let's get into today's decant. It's a new week and we're switching things up significantly. After weeks spent in Burgundy, Piedmont, Spain, Champagne, and 4 continents of Cabernet Sauvignon, this week we're dedicating 5 full days to a single country that I think remains one of the most underrated and least understood wine-producing nations in the world, South Africa. So let's get into why this week matters. The first thing worth knowing is just how old this wine industry actually is. The first grapes were pressed at the Cape of Good Hope in 1659 by Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch East India Company official who established the Cape Colony 7 years earlier. That makes South African winemaking older than the United States as a country by well over a century, older than Australian or Chilean wine by well over a century, and one of the oldest continuous wine traditions anywhere outside of Europe and the broader Mediterranean basin. By the late 1600s, a French Huguenot referee named Simon van der Stel had founded the town of Stellenbosch and established some of the systematic vineyard planting that would define the region for centuries to come. By the 18th century, the dessert wine Vin de Constance from the Constantia region near Cape Town was so celebrated that it was reportedly served as the court of European royalty, who was a personal favorite of Napoleon during his exile. So why, given the depth of history, does South African wine remain so under-recognized by casual wine drinkers today? The honest answer involved a difficult and complicated political history. For much of the 20th century, South Africa's wine industry operated under apartheid, and international sanctions during that era significantly limited the country's wine exports and its integration into the global fine wine conversation. And it was only after the end of the apartheid in the early 1990s that South African wine began re-entering international markets in earnest, and the industry has spent 3 decades since then rapidly modernizing, replanting better vineyard sites, and building the kind of international reputation that older wine nations had a much longer runway to develop. That history means South Africa is, in many ways, still in the early stages of a renaissance, making it one of the most exciting wine countries to pay attention to right now, precisely because the world hasn't fully caught up to the quality being produced. Now, the geography, because understanding the Cape's unique climate is essential to understanding everything we'll cover this week. The Western Cape, where the overwhelming majority of South African quality wine is produced, sits at the meeting point of 2 oceans, the warm Indian Ocean and the cold Atlantic, specifically the cold Benguela Current that flows up the western coast from Antarctica. That cold current has an outsized cooling effect on the region that would otherwise be far too hot for quality wine production at this latitude, similar to the way cold California current cools coastal vineyards in places like the Sonoma Coast. The result is a Mediterranean climate with significant regional variation depending on proximity to the coast, elevation, and mountain influence, meaning that within a relatively compact geographic area, South Africa produces an extraordinary range of wine styles. So here's the map for the week ahead. Tuesday, we'll go to Stellenbosch, the historic heart of South African fine wine, where Bordeaux-style blends and series Cabernet Sauvignon have built the country's reputation on the world stage. Wednesday, Swartland, the natural wine and old vine revolution that has reshaped how the world thinks about South African winemaking in just the last 2 decades. Thursday, Chenin Blanc, South Africa's signature white grape, more widely planted here than anywhere else on Earth, including its birthplace, the Loire Valley. Friday, Pinotage and the broader identity of the Cape, controversial native grape created in South Africa in 1925, alongside the cool climate Pinot Noir of Walker Bay. Saturday, we'll dive into the practical buying guide, pulling together everything we've covered into producers, prices, and vintages that you can actually use. And one thing I want you to hold on to throughout this week, South Africa occupies a genuinely unique position in the wine world. It has old world history with over 350 years of continuous winemaking, combined with New World energy, modern winemaking, technique, and some of the most exciting young producers working anywhere on the planet right now. That combination of deep roots and fresh ambition is exactly what makes this country worth a full week of attention. And there's a practical reason to pay attention right now rather than later. As international recognition continues to build year over year, the prices for the best South African wines have nowhere to go but up. The window of genuine, undiscovered value that this country currently represents will not stay open forever. Tomorrow, diving into Stellenbosch, fabulous region. I went there 3 years ago this month, and you won't want to miss it. That's today's Daily Decant. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends so you can continue building your wine knowledge in just a few minutes a day. See you tomorrow for the next Decant.